Hey guys, welcome back. In the previous video, we created a reusable GitHub workflow and we talked about two practical situations on when we want to run all the tests, which was on merge to main, and when do we want to run only a subset of test cases like smoke test cases on every pull request, because you might have too many tests, you might have too many test cases to run, you might have too many pull requests, so you might not want to run all the test cases, right? There are multiple other practical strategies that can be possible. I can at least name three more of them. So for example, you might want to run all your test cases on a schedule, because here we are only running smoke tests and all the tests, but excluding um, the flaky and failing test cases. But maybe for a monthly report or if for a weekly report, you might want to run all the test cases to show how many test cases are still failing, like how many bugs are there, how many test cases are flaky, right? So that's like use case number one, to run tests on a schedule. And then another use case that I can think of is if you want to run on a particular test environment or some particular test cases, you might want to manually trigger your workflows. So that's another use case to trigger test cases manually. And the third use case which I can think of is like triggering your test because of an external event in, let's say, an external microservice. So imagine if you have 10 microservices and one of them gets a pull request on its develop branch or its staging branch, and accordingly, if you want to run your test on developer staging environments for that particular changed microservice, you might want to have a separate set of inputs that you want to give to your Maven commands. So there are like multiple practical situations that can happen and that will happen in real production. And I think knowing how to deal with them makes you like better equipped to a better timely testing in continuous integration environment. So let's start with the very first of them. Like we already have covered two here on pull request on merge to main. So let's cover the next strategy, which is to run our test on a schedule. So to do that, let me just quickly first make a copy of this. Refactor, copy file, and let's call it as trigger test on a schedule. I'll also copy the name, Control C. And let's first rename the workflow file name and the job name. Run test on a schedule. Schedule. Then same here on schedule. And then we not only want to run like all the test cases, we also want to run all the negative test cases that we typically exclude, right? So let's put this here. So we don't want to exclude anything and we want to include anything. This is a little bit counterintuitive, but maybe I should add comment. Not giving anything in a group. Let me go here. Let's put it like this. Or let me put it like this. T groups empty means execute all test cases. Execute all test cases, and this is entirely opposite, which means if I come here, the excluded groups, empty means don't exclude any test case, right? Which essentially means the same thing. So with this, I think now we need to change the trigger. So if you want to like see how it works, you can just quickly search for GitHub CRON schedule. So let's say if I click on this, let's click on events that trigger workflow. Let's look for a CRON keyword, and you can see here they have given some examples. They're saying The CRON is specified to run at specific UTC times. So this is important because, depending on what location you are, you might be on a IST time zone or a PST time zone or a CET time zone or a PST time zone. You have to specify your CRON triggers based on UTC time zones, right? Because your 5 o'clock might not be 5 o'clock for UTC. And then it also specifies that the schedule event can be delayed during periods of high loads of GitHub Action workflow runs. High load times include the start of every hour. To decrease the chance of delay, schedule your workflow to run at a different time of the hour. I just want to let you guys know right now that schedule is the least reliable strategy, because as it said, depending on the GitHub Actions workflow, it might run at the given time, it might not run at the given time. It's basically queued. If it gets any free runners, it will run. If it does not get any free runners, it will not run, right? So don't really rely on this strategy. But I'm just giving an option that, let's say if you have some monthly reports, you want to run it at a certain time or at least once every month, once every week, you can use this, right? So for now, let's make a copy of this and let's go back. And let's change our trigger from pull request to schedule. And you might not understand what these numbers mean, right? So there's a good online tool for this. So let's say if you call a cron scheduler, enter. So cron tab guru is a very good online tool, that you can use to try out depending on whatever you want. So let's say if you want to run something on any particular day, you can either give let's say 1, which means every Monday, 2 every Tuesday. You can even give Monday, right? If you want to run it on all the work days, you can say Monday to Friday. So on every day of week from Monday through Friday. In our particular case, let's say we want to run our report on every first of month. So we don't care about the day. We don't care about any particular specific month. So it's not about that, we only want to run on January or February. We want to run every month. And let's say we want to run on the first of every month, and maybe we want to run it at 8 o'clock. And let's change this time a little bit, because as GitHub says that if you run it on the start of every hour, most people do that. So let's try something else. So let's say we want to run it on every I don't know, 41th minute, right? So now you have a cron value. You can copy this. Let's go back. Let's put this here. And for others to understand what this means, maybe we can also add a comment and we can actually add this, right? So this makes it more meaningful for a person who is looking at this cron job. So it says at 8:41 on, let's say, first day of every month, right? And this is much more meaningful now, right? What we can also do is we can let's go to Chronicle Guru, up, back, Cron tab Guru. Let's also give this URL so that if someone wants to give a new schedule, they know to set a new schedule. Use this schedule, use this. And what else? Like I said, if you want to add multiple so you can also add multiple cron jobs like what is given here. So if I go back and let's say if you want to run this not only on first of every month, but let's say we want to run it on every Monday, maybe at the same time, right? So what you can do is you can go back and let's go to cron tab, and now we want to run it every Monday. You have to give everything capital. Why? Because that's what the document tells us, right? Sunday to Saturday, everything capital. So Monday, we don't care about the month, we don't care about the day, and then we want to run it at same thing. Or maybe let's change this 8 o'clock and maybe every 51 minutes, right? So let's copy this, Windows 1 and Windows 2. Let's copy this, Control C, Windows 1, and at 8:51 on every Monday, right? And if you want to like just test this, because well, today is not the neither the Monday, today is not the first of first of a month. So if you want to test it, what we can also do is go back, and it says you can actually specify. So for example, run every 15 minutes starting from minutes 20 through 59, right? It's maybe you can just give it 1 through 59, right? So I will go back, Windows 1, and I will change this. I just want to make a disclaimer that there's no guarantee, that this will work. Like I said, Windows 2, because GitHub itself says that depending on the workload, it might work or it might not work. But let's say if I give it as 0015, every 15th minute from 0 through 59 past R8 on Monday. So maybe in this case I'll also remove this at every 15 minutes from 0 to 59, and let's also remove this 0 through 59 minutes, right? So let's copy this, Windows 1. So technically this should run every 15 minutes between, like, for the whole every hour it should run 4 times, but there's no guarantee, right? So I think with this we are good. If I go back and look into templates, yeah, I think I also remember one more thing. In the last run, if you remember, like, I was not able to give spaces here, or give or here. It was failing because it was considering it as a let me see if I can also find this. Yeah, I have to look into one of the runs, but it was saying that it was not treating this input in a string, and there's an easy fix for that. So now I am increasing the space, but it will still work because if I give the quotes here in the maven command, then it will take the literal strings as literal strings, and it will parse any variables as variables, which is what these are, and it will still add these double quotes on this command. So this fixes the problem that we saw in the previous video. So if I now do a git branch, let's create a branch, get checkout branch, add a schedule trigger. Let's open VS Code. So this is the trigger that we have added. 8:51 every Monday, every 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to add this. And by the way, guys, I don't know like if adding these comments will create any troubles. I hope not. So I'm trying it out. But if it does, we might have some fixing to do. So now here I've added comments, and here I've added a space. It should still work. So let's go here. And let's say added a CRON trigger, right? Commit and publish the branch. Okay, let's go back. Add a schedule trigger. Okay, let's compare and pull request. Create pull request. We have 2 files here, run test template. I've added a space here, added quotes to make it more error proof, and I have added this trigger here, right, which would run first of every month, every Monday and every 15 minutes. I'm going to remove this. I just want to like add this to show that it works. Although there are no guarantees if I look into the GitHub documentation, but let's try. So if I go back, Windows 2, where is this? Yeah, here. Let's look into actions. So you can see the run test on a pull request has completed, but it did not trigger the schedule one, right? And you might ask why. Yeah, because we have added a trigger here, which says, let's go, which says it should run on a schedule based on the cron job, right? And the reason it is not triggered is you might think, oh, maybe it's not, the time to trigger it, but the answer lies in, the answer lies somewhere here, which says, yeah. So schedule workflow runs on the latest commit on the default or the base branch. So our default or base branch is the main branch. This is a PR, so it will never get triggered. It will only get triggered after this code is merged into the main branch, right? So you cannot test this in a PR branch. So you have to just take a leap of faith and go back, and you have to merge this pull request, right? So let's go back and go back to the pull request, add a schedule trigger, and let's just merge this pull request, discussion merge. Okay, so now the code is merged, right? And let's go look into the workflow files. Come on, come on. By the way, guys, until the page loads, I think one of the things that we forgot was, imagine if you are, like I'm in Netherlands, right? So, and I want to run my test at 9 a.m. in the morning every day. I cannot just specify 900 because you first need to have a UTC to CET converter, and then you need to see when do you want to run your test in your time zone. So let's say if I want to run at 9 a.m., you actually have to give 8 a.m. In the cron job, right? I hope you will remember this. And if let's say you are from India, you have to say UTC to IST converter, and if you want to run tests on your 9 a.m. in the morning, you actually have to provide 4 a.m. because 4 a.m. UTC is 9 a.m. IST. So please do remember that. Okay, I could in fact even give this URL, like I can directly merge this to the main branch. Not that it is recommended, but in this particular case, since I know like it's just a comment, I can do that. So let's say if I go to actions, on a schedule, trigger test on a schedule, and let's edit this, and I'm also going to run a comment here, which is to say, to get the right time for your time zone, use worldtimebuddy.com, right? To use worldtimebuddy.com and start commit, propose changes. Okay, create pull request, and I'm going to enable auto merge. So whenever this check is passed, the pull request will get merged, right? If I go to actions, so at this moment, it's running test on a pull request or on main, but it's not running test on a schedule. So I'm not going to wait anymore because it's already 19 minutes now. So I will pause the video here, and by the next video, if there's any trigger on a schedule, I will show it, and then we can move it from there. So in the next video, I'm going to cover how we can manually trigger our workflow, and then let's see where to go from there. So again, I hope you learned something useful in this video, and I look forward to see you guys in the next video. See you. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.